Virgo, hello, Amanda here. Welcome to Unseen Hands Healing. This is going to be your small story reading for December. So these readings are a more specific glimpse into what might be going on for you at the time that you are watching this, as opposed to the monthly shift readings, which are more of an overview energy. Here we're hoping to hone in. So what happens for these readings is I choose a book off the shelf that seems to be speaking to you, turn to a passage at random, and read that to you, and then we will go to cards and see if we can illuminate that message further. So the book that wanted to speak to you very clearly today, Virgo, The Once and Future Goddess. So already I'm like, okay, here we go, it's on. Okay, the subtitle here is A Sweeping Visual Chronicle of the Sacred Female and Her Reemergence in the Cultural Mythology of Our Time. Rich text. Really, really good read. Highly recommend. So I'm immediately turning to this whole chapter on the Hebrew goddess. Yes, that is right. Hebrew goddess. Not just a Hebrew god, but a Hebrew goddess. And I'm going to read to you a little bit about that. But at first I want to give you a little visual to work with. Okay, this is the page I turned to. The archaeological evidence that has been found to support the existence of this goddess. I'm going to read you a little bit here, a couple of passages. Okay, here we go. Where am I starting? Let's see. Okay. To speak of a Hebrew goddess is to make the claim that there was a distinctive goddess in the culture of the people of the Bible. Traditionally, this culture has been defined solely on the basis of scriptures that insist on exclusive faith in Yahweh as the one and only God whose lordship and worship differentiates the Israelites from all surrounding people. Yahweh was believed to have chosen the Israelites as his people. Our understanding of early Israelite religion may have to be revised drastically. I think this is important for you, Virgo, in terms of the message coming through. Our understanding of early Israelite religion may have to be revised drastically. Like the whole system needs to be unlearned. The whole history needs to be unlearned. Mounting archaeological evidence confirmed by substantial biblical allusions suggests that the Hebrews also worshipped the goddess and the Canaanite thunder god Baal in rituals such as those of their polytheistic neighbors. Okay, so then we get into talking about the goddesses here. Essentially, they go on to talk about Yahweh, the specific chief of the Canaanite pantheon. The god is El, who is akin to Yahweh. And then they go on to talk about El's wife, Asherah. Here we go. Who is, by the way, mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. Asherah, the one who created the gods, is the local manifestation of the great goddess. A motherly goddess, she served the gods as their wet nurse. She even suckled human princes. Asherah's domain is the sea, as El's is the heavens. Known as the Lady of the Sea, she is the patron of the Mediterranean port cities, whose prosperity depended on the bounty of the sea and the good graces of their ruling lady. The function and roles of the Canaanite goddesses clearly overlap, and they exist in changing and sometimes ambiguous relationships to the gods with whom they are associated. All are aspects of the great goddess. Despite their different mythological roles and iconographies, they were worshipped as one divine female presence. This is what's important. I want you to see her again. This is Asherah. Okay. Whoa. So essentially we've got archaeological and textual historical evidence that is quite transgressive to the popular historical narrative that we have grown up with, that there was one Hebrew God that ruled over all. Now, there's this notion being introduced in your reading here, Virgo, that there was a divine counterpart to that Yahweh, to that El, who was his partner, who was representative of the divine feminine, the divine goddess. And in that text, it goes on to talk about how they worked in tandem. Their victories over whatever they were fighting were in tandem. And I love that she's the lady of the sea. That's really amazing because feminine energy is often associated with the sea, with this deep well of intuition and emotional flow, an incredibly powerful force. And I also think it's really important to talk about the fact that those Mediterranean cities rely on that for survival. Rely on that force for survival. They relying on the force of this divine feminine for survival. I think that's something that's important coming through here. Let's get to cards. We're using the Wildwood Tarot here to expand on this story of Asherah, the divine goddess, the divine Hebrew goddess. For Virgo, what's the story here for Virgo? Awfully quiet. What's the story here for Virgo? Very quiet. Okay, one more. There we go. Okay. This is, yes. Beautiful. Okay. I just need to see where this wants to go. Yes, beautiful. You can't write it, y'all. You really can't. The Queen of Stones, the bear, who I often associate with the mother energy. And then we have the Journey, which is the death card in the tarot. And then we have the Forest Lovers. Come on. Okay, so with the Queen of Stones, looking at death here, looking at this crow, this carrion feeder, picking away at the sinews of this skull. I'm just getting this. Essentially, the great goddess, as the text describes, the divine feminine, now coming out of hibernation. That's how I'm seeing this bear, the divine feminine coming out of the cave that has been buried in history for so long. It's starting to now come out and be picked out of what was previously dead. Mining, I'm seeing this skull as representing the past or history, mining history for the nutrients that has been forgotten. Also, death is a card of transformation. Really profound transformation is what we are seeing here as the divine feminine comes out now into the light, which is also representing for me the dawn of a new day. Like the winter of complete patriarchal rule is over here as the goddess steps forward and into the light to be seen. Retrieval. Soul retrieval, essentially, which leads to unity. Unity of these binary polarities. A more integrated view of history is a more honest view of history. I also like how my framework as a reader tends to exist between, outside of, beyond, including the binary, just not simply male or female. There's so many more genders and so much more to those energies than just male or female. I think if we think in those terms, that they're incredibly limiting. Not that male and female are not important. They're just not the only thing. And I'm sort of seeing that happening here in where this like typically male, typically female figure are meeting is something in between where there is rich growth, outpouring, rich life to be seen. This like pillar between the binaries feels really interesting. This is El and Asherah. Coming together now that it's like, it's the awakening of the divine feminine. This is so fascinating. This is the transformation that's happening. I love this image of the divine feminine coming out of hibernation. I wonder how this applies to you, Virgo. I'm sure it will come out in the extended, but I imagine even from this reading here, you are starting to connect some dots. You know, in your December shift reading, there's a lot of energy around flipping existing structures, scrutinizing existing structures with a critical eye to say, hold on a second, why is this person in power? Why does this structure exist like this? And to me, that's the awakening of the divine feminine. Okay, let's go to Brian Froud's fairies. What's the fairy guidance for Virgo as this divine goddess energy is emerging? Fairy guidance for Virgo here as we finish this half of the reading. Oh, this is so good. I know. Himself. Okay, this is also my favorite fairy, just so you know. Ugh, it's hard to say that, but this is up there for me, this card. Love, love, love himself. There's something here about, I like that himself is coming out because it's not just this, emergence of the feminine nature that has been suppressed. It does not mean feminine takeover. There is something very clear in this reading about integration and about meeting eye to eye. And so as much as the divine feminine is coming forth in Asherah in this reading, so is the more the divine feminine is able to emerge and able to be fully seen in this dawn of a new era as we move into 2020, perhaps this new decade for the divine feminine to emerge, the more masculinity as we know it becomes more whole. That's it. That's exactly what's coming through. And look at the beautiful power of this, the masculinity represented here. It's virile, it's magical, it's playful, it's intense, it's whimsical. A masculinity that we don't often see, at least in the West here where I am reading from. And I would argue perhaps a masculinity much needed. Wow. Whew, I got chills, Virgo, and I am so excited to see where this reading goes. Okay, so we're going to take this into an extended reading right now. I'm going to put a little clip at the end of this video so that you can preview that reading, see if it resonates with you. If it does, click the link in the description box below. That will take you over to Vimeo where you can purchase that reading instantly and see how this story plays out. All right, Virgo, thanks so much for watching. Happy holidays. Take care. in a very like made flesh, you know, the great goddess embodied in the very human grandmother figure, the human archetype of a grandmother. So we have this grandmother figure watching over all of this, Virgo, for you. This fairy godmother that is orchestrating this union, perhaps. Ugh, the extendeds are so juicy. Orchestrating, overseeing this divine union, bringing you out of hibernation, or bringing a love of yours out of hibernation and into the light after a time of hibernation, which has been deep transformation, deeply transformative, a death and a rebirth. Wow.